first time I got my first arrest when I was like maybe 13 years old. Friend took a car. We knew it was wrong. He found the keys, but we knew it belonged to us. But we still went out, did it a joyride, and after a big pursuit, man, I had my first taste with the law, and it wasn't. It was more embarrassing than it was trying to prove somebody that I wasn't. Going home in handcuffs and have seen all your friends from the block see you in a certain way and say, hey, isn't that the pastor's kid? So, I think I embarrassed my family and myself more than I made a name for myself, and that was pretty embarrassing in itself, and growing up, man, for me, living the life I live, I've seen a lot where I think I shouldn't have. I experienced and made choices I shouldn't have when I knew right from wrong. I never got too crazy. I never got involved with the street gang, but I hung out with them. As you hang out with them and you do things for them, they groom you to join.
Sean Dustin spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. Upon release in 2006, he had nothing but the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and legal paperwork. In 2010, he kicked a long-time methamphetamine habit and started the long climb back up the ladder of life. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. If you want transparency and authenticity, you're in the right place. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and this is Sean Dustin.
What's up? This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and I'm your host, Sean Dustin. Happy Friday. This is your first time listening. Welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. It's good to have you with us this evening. Hope you guys got some good plans for the weekend. I know it's nice over in my area. Not sure what it's like in the rest of the world. I know that the weather's getting back to normal over in Texas. I don't know if it's still cold up in Canada. Probably. If you're enjoying what I'm doing, you can help support the show by, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button in the corner and thumbs the video up. If you're on Facebook, do me a favor, hit the like and share. If you're on the podcast platforms, which this will be coming out shortly once this is aired, subscribe. Subscribe from your favorite podcast platform. That helps me become more visible on the platforms themselves. My Patreon. I'm doing some things a little bit different over in Patreon. I've got a couple of tiers, the $5 tier. So for $5 a month, if you help support me over there, once a month, I'll be doing a Patreon only patron live stream, which will be an episode where you can come on and ask me questions. You can, talk about whatever you want, talk about some of the past shows, talk about guests that you want to see on, and that will air live just the same way this is, and it'll be on a podcast episode. So head on over to Patreon and check out what the tiers and what I'm doing over there. All of the links and everything that's pertinent to this show and what we're talking about were available in the show notes and the description. This evening, I am talking to my buddy James. Another one of those things where I do not know how to pronounce last names, so I'm not going to try and butcher his last name. I will let him tell you. What's up, James?
What's up? How's it going?
Good, man. How do you pronounce your last name?
Science.
All
yeah.
Right.
Some people say it's science. Some people say it's science, but it's science.
Yeah, in my head I say Chinese or whatever. So I would have butchered it way up, man.
Sounds French when you say it like that.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So how I know James, and I've known James for about probably a year now. We got involved in the same Facebook group with a bunch of other podcasters. I think we were all kind of at the starting phase, right? Or at least most of them were. And I think I may have been the elder there because I had been maybe going for about a year. And so, yeah, and we just kind of been keeping in touch. Like, well, I've watched what you're doing. You kind of watch what I'm doing. We have the same sort of show, except yours is more faith-based than mine is. And so, yeah. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you, a little about your show, and a little about your story, because it's kind of lines up with mine. I mean, we both were knuckleheads back in the day and kind of had to figure it out.
Yeah, man. So, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, just a normal kid, but I grew up in ministry, man. And my dad was a pastor, so I grew up knowing that life. But when I grew up, I started seeing all my friends and them living a certain life, and I started to head that way for a while, man. And I got introduced to weed at a young age, like many of us do. That's our first drug, or we see our friends doing it. So you want to live that part of life. So there was a battle of trying to please my dad and trying to live a life that I wanted to live. You know what I mean? And for a while, it got for me, for a young age, it got pretty hairy, man. I started the first time I got my first arrest, and I was like maybe 13 years old. Friend took a car. We knew it was wrong. He found the keys, but we knew it didn't belong to us. But we still went out, did a joyride, and after a big pursuit, man, I had my first taste with the law, and it was more embarrassing than it was trying to prove somebody that I wasn't. Going home in handcuffs and have seen all your friends from the block see you in a certain way. Say, hey, isn't that the pastor's kid? So I think I embarrassed my family and myself more than I made a name for myself, and that was pretty embarrassing in itself, and just growing up, man, for me, living the life I live, I've seen a lot, or I think I shouldn't have. I experienced and made choices I shouldn't have when I knew right from wrong. I never got too crazy. I never got involved with the street gang, but I hung out with them. As you hang out with them and you do things for them, they groom you to join. While you're hanging out with us and you do this for us, might as well join. But I never, thank God, I never joined, and I had the people in my life to steer me from that. Like for instance, one of my friends' dad was from the neighborhood, and he knows my dad. So when I would hang around then, he just he grabbed me by the neck and slapped me around and told me that this wasn't the life, But me being a knucklehead, still wanted to pursue a life, do that. And later on, man, what scared me the most in my life was watching friends pass away at a young age. When you're in high school, man, and you see your friends pass away, it does something to you, I would hope it does something to you. It'll make you want to change, make you at least want to do something. So seeing a friend growing up, man, since I was maybe like second grade all the way through high school, shot and killed in front of high school, having to see him in the cast world, that's when I started thinking about life, or thinking about better situations, and thinking about the road I was headed was to a place where I was headed, maybe, man, making a bad mistake and going to jail sometime, but, thank, I don't take his that lesson as a curse, but I take it as a blessing, because I've seen where I could have been,
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. You're lucky. You're lucky you figured it out before you, gave away your freedom. And, I always would say that, that when, nobody threw me in jail, I gave my own freedom away by the choices that I made. Now, I didn't realize that then. It was, these, blah, 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 put me in jail and boo, 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 all this other, not taking responsibility for my own actions. But, the bottom line is that I willfully gave my freedom away, by the bad decisions that I was making. We have.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we got Sandy Freeze, who's a friend of mine. She runs a group called Factually Innocent, I believe. I was a PK too, a pastor's kid too, and rebelled. Great expectations and feeling of never being enough.
That's, I agree. That's true. That's true. Because later on, bro, like when I went and I didn't follow my dad's footsteps, I did try the seminary school for a while, but it wasn't like, not that I didn't want to, but it wasn't for me, because I didn't want to portray somebody that wasn't doing wholeheartedly, I didn't want to speak to people and tell them how to live if it wasn't all there, and my dad just being disappointed that I didn't take over the mantle. So no matter what I did, no matter what I tried to do, wasn't enough. So growing up in ministry, it's hard. It's really hard for a young person, dude.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this about myself, and sort of the same. Pastors' kids and law enforcement kids always seem to be the ones that get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
My whole dad's side of my family are law enforcement. From my grandmother to my dad to my brother to my uncle, they were all law enforcement, and so it was. I went the complete opposite direction. Ended up in prison, addiction, all that stuff. So I mean, the struggle is real, man, for real.
I think for me, prison. I tell a story jokingly. I say I never been to prison, but I've been to prison early on in the early days of Scared Straight. Like the early days, my dad sent me. And it's whatever we see on TV, but the difference for me, this one was, it hit real because I see my friend's father there,
Oh.
and seeing people and them telling you like, look, this is how it is, this is how it's gonna be. When you come here, we're not your friend, you're gonna do what we tell you to do, and it made me see, this isn't the place for me. I gotta start making different changes. I gotta start, making better choices in my life.
Yeah, I went to that same program. I went to San Quentin, and it didn't work for me. For some reason, I knew that, like, you guys can't touch me. You can't do anything to me. I was one of those little smart ass kids that, oh, what are you going to say? And I mean, basically what it was is, they bring you in, and as soon as you're walking through the yard, or, the main line, whatever you want to call it, you've got all the guys whistling at you and, hey, cutie, come here. Da, 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 you're going to be mine, blah, 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 all this, all that. And so, I mean, it was, I think the thing that I took away from it the most when I went there is like, there was a trans individual there. And I was like, they have girls here? Like, that was the main thing that I took away from it. And, they explained to me, no, that's not a girl. That's what that was. But it was, it didn't work. And I don't even think that they do that anymore.
I'd be surprised. I've never been, so I wouldn't know.
No, I mean, I don't think that they do I'm not sure if they even do that Scared Straight program anymore.
Yeah, I haven't heard much of it. Probably not, man.
Yeah, because I mean, and then when you got to sit one-on-one with them, it was a lot of yelling at you and cussing at you and trying to like yell the bad out of you.
Yeah, I mean, they try to do the best they can, man.
Yeah, I was a hard case, that's for sure. So tell me a little bit more about life growing up in the San Fernando Valley, because I'm up in the north, and you're down in Visalia by like Fresno and that area, right? Merced.
Yeah, right. San Fernando Valley, man, it's unique, bro. At a time growing up, I didn't get caught up in gangs, but I did get caught up in a graffiti crews, and that it's a whole other world in itself, depending on the people you hang out with and depending what you do, it can get it can get serious, I've gotten myself into a situation where there was loads of people looking for me, because I was hanging out with somebody and I let them do something they shouldn't have, and it was pushing close to it, and later on in life, seeing all this drama, bro, and seeing all this gang violence, I wanted to make a change, at least in my neighborhood at the time. Instead of smoking with the friends and drinking with the friends, I could have not showed them just a faith life, but showed them a better way of life, that we don't need to be drinking, we don't need to be smoking, man. Because when my friend died, it shocked me because I could have been a better person to him, at least keep them away from that. And it's I'm just glad that I'm not there anymore, because for growing up in such a big neighborhood, bro, you got so many people in one place that it can get violent, man. No matter what you do or no matter what life you live, like for instance, like I shared with you on an email that I got into a gang intervention. Kids that are on probation, man, that are headed towards juvenile hall or headed towards jails. We bring them in, mentor them, help them with the schoolwork, set goals, one-on-one time, steer them away from gangs. But I found myself, no matter what I did, no matter how good I tried, reality and life hits home. Like I had a buddy of mine shot in my front yard, and we were just minding our own business, doing good, trying to help the community. And this guy is shot in my front yard, and I got caught up in the law part, and then I got caught up kind of in the neighborhood. People want to know who did it. But what do you say? Do you help the law, or do you help, the neighborhood? So it was one hard thing to keep my head out of the situation. And not that I have anything bad to say about law enforcement. There's some good, but as I guess this is where I'm getting. As person I looked at, they try to put a jacket on me. Well, hey man, your friend got hit by 2 different casings, and we found 3 different casings on the floor. So somebody shot back, So I found myself in a dilemma where they were trying to pin something on me. A was self-defense, but still, cops are harassing me. Do I give in to the cops, or do I give in to the neighborhood and just live a crazy life? So I just felt no matter what I did, that life gets to you, and you get caught up in everything.
Yeah, I was lucky. I was lucky that I never had to experience that part of, because there was gangs around me. But I grew up in kind of a middle class neighborhood, up in the hills, and I went to the bad parts of the neighborhood, right? I didn't like being in where I was. And so I would go to, I'd hang out with the riffraff, and I'd hang out in bad areas, and I'd go there, and then I'd come back home and, where I'm safe from everything. And, my first run in with the gang was when I got locked up, and I didn't know better. And I thought I was going to be able to, do my bid by myself. I'm doing my time by myself. I'm not going to get involved in anything. And, I got jumped by some Southsiders, and, at that point I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna have to click up somewhere, with somebody, to do the rest of my bid. And, it was kind of a trip, man. It was. I never wanted to actually get into a gang. I would always say, I'm not gonna, because there was the Northsiders and Norteños were from my area, and the Sureños are down in the south. And I would always say, I'm not gonna fight for a number unless it has dollar signs in front of it, and so that's kind of how I stuck to it. So yeah, crazy. And so there's another thing that you did, though. You did a documentary type of film that you made a part of that got you into helping the youth.
Yeah. What it was a drama, depicting some of the things more than I talked about. Some of the things that I've seen growing up, in the neighborhoods or in the streets, and some had to do with real life situations. So me and my buddy, my buddy, my best friends, no matter what I did, he was there. So when we lived like the knucklehead days, he was there. But when we lived the straight life, he was there too, the church life. Well, we wrote a drama, bro, because we were tired of seeing our friends being killed. We were tired of seeing, them being locked up or just destroying their lives over drugs and making them wrong decisions. So we came together and we put together our talents and our life story, bro. And it really took off. But we went from everywhere from all throughout California up and down, bro. New Mexico and back, throughout states, man. And we did it to make a change, bro. And we were just happy and good to see that, that we were able to use our life experiences to help people, bro. And then, people basically be packed out with people watching it, bro, and people just, seeing that life, bro, and seeing that we can make a change. It changed a lot of lives.
So, are there any plans for future stuff? I know you're doing the podcast and your creativity and stuff that you're still in it. But do you have any plans of maybe doing that again and trying to expand on that in your area? It's
some I thought about, and it's just finding the people willing to, and right now, like I'm writing a book about my experiences, and then more in depth about like growing up PK, stories that I haven't shared, stories that people haven't heard growing up, and then the book getting into when I had kids, getting into when I got married, and coming into now what I'm doing these days, you know. So I'll do that. I try to write a chapter every night or once a night, you know, whenever, you know, I hear something that reminds me of. So I'm working on my book, and hopefully by the end of the year, you know, I have something that's my goal, dude.
Awesome. We got some more comments here. Sean, too funny. I wonder about the issues from childhood. I was so isolated and wasn't allowed to do the things my friends took for granted. My experience may be different as my dad was from the mountains of eastern Kentucky. I was abused and finally I broke. A lot of work to do, but once I got through the work, I moved forward and I feel free. That's awesome. Sandy's shared her story with me, and you know, I know exactly what she's talking about there. And yeah, I'm happy that you were free from, you know, the past and you were able to move on from it. We got, the reefer man, more hemp than human. Yo, what's up, brother?
Yeah, what's up?
Said, am I going to get communicated with? Well, we're talking to you now. Hello.
Speak.
gotta be patient, man.
Right.
The thing that people like, I like this format, how we're doing it, but the lag on it and not trying to, you know, interrupt the guest or people that are speaking, you know, when you're trying to tell your story. And sometimes I see people that aren't used to it, because you work with StreamYard, so you're used to it. But the people that aren't, they get distracted with the comments. So they'll be trying to tell their story, and I'll flash up some comments, and I'll see them get distracted, and they'll start stuttering. So I try to wait for a point to where the guest is done talking about what they're saying, then I'll run through the comments real quick. So it's not that anybody's trying to, you know, ignore you. It's just, that's just kind of how I've kind of figured out how to work this thing where it doesn't affect the people that I got on there from their story. If not, may as well just leave and watch this later, right? Possibly. If you wanted to, you can. I mean, you know, it's a free country. You can do what you want, right? But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Sandy, again, love what you do, Sean. I have an interview soon for the book I'm writing to expose what's happening with our citizens who are incarcerated. So love your work. Thank you, Sandy. I know you're definitely a supporter of what I'm doing, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Guess I can put stuff in this live chat for y'all and others to read later or now. Yeah, you can do that too. Thank you. Thank you again for checking us out, Reefer Man. I support what you do. I'm an advocate for that. So, all right, we're done with that. Let's move into some other stuff. So we share a couple of likenesses. We both are single dads, and we co-parent, right? We had talked a little bit about that on your show I was on. And I think that's something that we need to definitely address, because there's a lot of guys out there that don't even participate in their kids' lives. You know what I mean? They're just, you know, they're fathers biologically, but the definition of a father is a lot more than just impregnating a woman and, you know, her having a kid and you saying I'm the dad, right?
Yeah, man, definitely. You know, like when I first had my first son, like obviously I didn't know what I was doing, didn't know how to be a father, you know. So in the beginning stages, I made a lot of mistakes, but as years went on and I had more kids, man, and I grew and I learned how to love my kids and be a good father, and change some of the things that I grew up learning, that I learned from my father. You know, yeah, my father was a pastor. He was a good guy, but he was tough. So all I knew how to do was be tough with my kids, you know, not knowing that I was affecting them, you know, and the ways I was acting and things I was saying. But with the co-parenting, man, later on in the year, after having 4 kids, bro, and my marriage not working out, you know, it was at first it was a struggle to realize what were we gonna do, you know, how am I gonna raise kids, not just single, but like away from being married. Like, how do I do it, you know? So it took years, bro, for me to get it right, you know, the attitude I had and the anger I had towards my ex. But co-parenting, man, it's the best experiences that I'm able to do. You know, I'm able to share dinners and birthdays and have holidays with my kids, bro, and their mom in the same room. And what it does for my kids, bro, they're happy, bro. You know what I mean? We see it. I've seen other families, bro. But I experienced my friends and their families are now like my kids and their friends, and it's not like it, bro. Their families, their mother and father, they are separate, but they argue and they fight and they don't do things together. So the kids, bro, they hurt, But I wanted to change that. I didn't want my kids to see, my mom and dad fight. My parents fight. I want to see me and their mother fight. I wanted to change that example and show, me and your mom, we're not married anymore. It ended, but we can still love each other as parents, and still give it a good life and be an example. So we can do this. We can be a family, still be happy, but yet both move on with their lives.
Yeah, I experienced some of the same things, and a lot of what I went through, and my bad behavior was in anger, and being kind of a bully, and being verbally abusive and mentally abusive, and I was never a physical type of person. Like I never really was into physically abusing because I knew I would get in trouble. And, we talked about this before that, doing it the other way around. Yeah, you may be saving yourself, but you're really causing more damage to the people that you're yelling at and you're verbally abusing and emotionally abusing. It's really a lot harder on them because you slap. Not saying that I condone this. I'm not saying, go out and instead of, yelling at somebody or calling them names, you go and slap them. But I mean, if I would have done that, the bruise goes away, the pain of that goes away, in a day or two. But when you're calling people names or, attacking their physical look or anything that, what happens when you get into arguments and you start saying stuff that you don't mean. Most of the time it's just for me, it was, I can't hit you. So I'm going to hit you with the issues that I know you struggle with, and I'm going to hurt you that way. And that is way harsher and way harder to get over in the long run than being physically hurt. Right.
Yeah, man. Definitely words. Obviously it's a different type of abuse. There's mental and physical, but that mental abuse, I think, my father never really laid hands on me, because, that wasn't him. But he would get angry sometimes and say some things, And even to this day, if I hear like I call him a trigger word, like guys at work, we play around, but then they'll say a word that I was called maybe when I was younger, and then I get angry. You know what I mean? It does something to me where like it affects me my day, And I realized that I didn't. Even before that same word, when someone would call me, even before this day, I would get mad, I would get snapped. And I never really was verbal towards my kids. I wanted them to experience a different life than I did.
Yeah, I noticed it in my own daughter. We talked about this as well when, what really got me to stop and take a look at it was, my kid. We were yelling at each other in the car in the front seat, passenger seat, and my daughter was in the back seat in her car seat. And I mean, we're in an argument, and it's those arguments when, things are over and, both sides want somebody to blame, and I'm not hearing her. She's not hearing me. And it's just, and my daughter was like out of nowhere, just stop. And she was 2 years old, maybe 2.5 at the most. I think it was more like 2. And that was like, all right, that's it. What are we doing? What are we doing to her? If we're not putting her above everything else and making sure that we're being a good example of what it's to be an adult, to be a person, to be, whatever, then yeah, we're just not doing it right. And so at that point, that's when I kind of really started changing everything. And I started looking further inside myself and why do I keep going to this particular, You know, why is that my reaction all the time? Why do I react to things instead of respond? Why is it so easy for me to trigger and get angry and just go from zero to rage like that? And it wasn't until then I really started taking deeper looks into myself that things really started changing.
Yeah. Let me give you an example. Like, with the way I am with my kids, you know, my boy, like, he's getting, man, he's pushing 16 older, you know, so his way of showing his love towards me is cracking jokes, you know. He'll say something like, "Oh, you know, I'm getting bigger than you know," like, because the boy's he's shooting up in size. His family, like his uncles and them, they're all over 6 feet something. His mom is tall, you know, so that's his way, bro, of cracking jokes. You know, we can get to a certain point where I don't snap anymore, you know, with him, and he sometimes pushes my buttons, you know.
Yeah.
Everything I learned, bro, and everything that I went through, you know, he makes you a better person, you know, because, you know, I can say, hey, you went too far with this one, you know, you don't tell your dad this, you know, but I still show him love, and I correct him when I correct this, you know, he takes it all his love, you know, so, man, I'm a way better person than I think I was a couple years ago.
Well, I mean, it means you're doing life right? If you're the same person you were last year and you haven't evolved in some way, then you're not doing it right in some aspect, you know, or maybe you're just happy being, you know, stagnant or, you know, treading water. You know, I'm not, you know, ever since I got on this journey, every day I want to be a better person than I was yesterday. You know, I got so tired of having to apologize for something that I did yesterday, today, you know, whether it was, you know, I drank too much and caused a scene, or I flipped out on somebody, or, you know, there was one point where I was, you know, road raging, and, you know, and it around the time when people were starting to shoot people for doing that. Right. And so I think what really stopped me from doing that was I was commuting back I was coming home from work, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and behind me, I see a guy get out of his car, because I'm looking in the side mirror. I could see him getting out of the car, and the other guy gets out of the car, and they start brawling right there in traffic. Right. And I was like, is that what I look like? Right? Do I look stupid like that? You know, when I'm flying down the road, chasing somebody in and out of traffic, not paying attention. And, you know, so what's really effective for me in changing my behaviors has been seeing how ridiculous somebody else looks doing what I know that I do. And so that's really been pivotal, and paying attention to that. Have you ever experienced anything like that yourself?
Well, I noticed, like, when I got into, like, some of my, I call them my dark days, when I got into the days, man, you know, you go through life, bro. Like, I was going through separation, bro. I was going through just crazy stuff. So I started drinking more than I did, and I started dwelling in the coke. But that changed my mentality, and it changed the way I thought. So when I would snap at people, like, for instance, for work, you know, I would honestly, to be honest, I would slack, bro. I wouldn't care. You know, I would talk back. For some reason, I would talk back to authority, and I would talk back to my bosses and managers. And before that, I would see people do it, you know, and I would, like, you know, why, who do the people think they are? Like, what gives them the audacity, you know? Why show up if you're not going to do anything? Why disrespect the person that's giving you, you know, job that's provided you with a way of bringing income, you know? And I started to be that person who I never thought I'd be, you know? Mm-hmm. Drinking, you know, at lunch, or doing a line here and there and disrespecting people. And I became who I said I'd never be. And having to learn, and as I go back, and when I did straighten out and change, I see people doing it now, and I look like, how dare you? Like, these are that. And I'm glad I changed, because, you know, I see it, and I could have been much more worse, and I was just tired of the person I was then.
Yeah, you just explained some of the something that's called like shadow work, right? Your shadow is your subconscious and the behaviors and the things that you do subconsciously that you don't even realize that you're doing. And so a part of that is a lot of the times when you see something in other people that you go, look at the nerve of them, or whatever it is, or you don't like something about somebody's personality, you don't like something about what other people are doing. It's really what you don't like about you and what you don't like about what you do, and you project it onto other people. And so that's, learning that's a tough part, learning that that's how we are, and understanding how the mind works and how that shadow self is. And we don't get taught that in school. We don't get taught that anywhere. You got to find that shit out for yourself.
Yeah, man. Got to be humbled for that one.
Yep. We got another comment here. We've had a few, but this is one we'll go ahead and take and answer. So do y'all use weed? I searched weed and filtered to live and found your live stream. Well, James I know doesn't.
It'd be like far and few,
Yeah.
It's been a minute, man. I haven't had stress like I used to, so.
As far as myself, I'm an advocate for it. I use edibles to kick a 7-year opioid addiction to painkillers. And how I did that is I just sort of weaned myself off, went half dose until I got down to 2.5 milligrams. And then I switched over to edibles and to kill the withdrawal symptoms, which it didn't kill it 100%, but it made it tolerable to where I didn't feel as sick and all that. So I'm definitely an advocate for it. I think it should be legalized. I think it's a medicine. I don't use it recreationally, like I don't smoke. If I do anything, I microdose THC to the point where it's like you don't get the effects or the high, but you still feel the benefits of the medicine. Like as far as like the well-being and happy, but you're not high. If that makes any sense.
I don't knock it, man. I know it helps a lot of people, so for me, I have my faith and I have beliefs, but I'm also a real person, if just something that helps you and it's beneficial to you and it doesn't harm you, then why not,
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, alcohol, in my opinion, is way worse for you than partaking in marijuana. I've never seen anybody that gets high on THC that wants to go and fight people versus when you get drunk on alcohol and want to go fight folks. So
I just had a discussion with my buddy at work too, because for a while he was drinking for a while, then he stopped and he started smoking, and when he started smoking, he was all about love, so that's very true.
You said this other one here. I don't understand this one. It's odd you can test positive for THC and get high from industrial hemp, which is federally legal in the USA, and you cannot test positive for THC and get high from what legally considered not. Yeah, I don't know what you're trying to say. I don't understand that one, but yeah, I mean, it is crazy that marijuana is legal to buy recreationally in some states like California. It is, but you can still not get hired for a job if you test positive on the pre-screen, on the pre-drug screen. I think they need to figure that out, because I don't think that's right.
Yeah, that's a gray area, man. People work. Hey, I won't say where I work, but at my boss, he doesn't encourage it, but he will knock it. So what you do at home. Don't bring it around, So as long as you keep it personal and private, it doesn't bug nobody.
Yeah. All right, so let's move into your show. Let's talk a little bit about your show before we wrap this up. It's 7:39. I don't have anything planned after this, so I mean, if it goes long, it goes long. But I usually try to keep it around an hour. That's a good spot, good sweet spot for people's commutes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the podcast, man, that came out of it came out of a dark place, but it came at the good at the same time. I started, like, for instance, why did you start a podcast? Because you listen to a podcast. You listen to this person or that person, so you feel like I was just hearing podcasts about paranormal, weird stuff, conspiracies, all that good stuff that you're into, and I thought, like, for everything that I've been through and the stuff that I've talked about, there's people out there that been through a lot worse. Like growing up and in the ministry, I see my dad taking people off the streets. I seen, people that were, man, in the gutter, straight hooked on drugs, alcohol, prison. And then they come change, and they got a backstory. So hearing their story as a little kid, I remember people and I remember seeing them change. So, one day I was listening, like I wanted to do more. I wanted to leave something for my family, leave something for my kids, leave a voice, because I always knew that I was called to do something, and I always knew that I had to give somewhere. My gift was always talking to people, learning about them. So the podcast, man, just thinking and a dream came to me. One day God said, you listen to a podcast, I'll start a podcast, give people stories, share the stories, share their triumphs, share their downfalls, share their beginnings, So that just came out of love for people. It came out of love to spread a little light, to make a little change, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So who would you say was your biggest influence of somebody that you listen to?
As any podcast, man, I listen to Sam Tripoli, I listen to all those conspiracies, where darkness is, but basically the people I listen to is right now, man, my big influence from me right now is my pastor Mike. He speaks life into he speaks life into me, and hearing him speak, if he can do it and he gets so much love, why can't I,
Yeah, for sure. Mine was Joe Rogan. I listened to him for 2 years religiously every day, 8 hours a day. And I caught up damn near on almost all of his episodes from, what he had on the catalog there. His first ones, I never listened to his first one yet. I know it's somewhere. I think it's on his Spotify now, but I jump around, I'll go from one that I listen to another one to, if I'm interviewing somebody that I have has a podcast, I'll listen to their first episode. I'll listen to their last episode, so I can sort of see their progression that they have. Sam Tripoli, I like Sam Tripoli. How I found Sam Tripoli, or the people that I had on last night, Deborah gets red pilled. I got to them through Sam Tripoli, and Truthzilla is another one that I found to them. I'm actually putting together an episode right now. I'm in the talk with Sam Tripoli to get him, Deborah gets red pilled, and Truthzilla all together, because we all struggled with addiction. And we all us three found each other through finding Sam's podcast first.
Yeah, what was it turned out? I forget the host, but it's a Snap Judgment. I don't know if you heard of them.
Mm-mm.
Snap Judgment, man, that's a good podcast. It's storytelling. It's near ours, kind of. But it's just stories of triumph. Just everyday people making good noise, man. That one, keeps me going throughout my day. Yours too, I just try to listen to podcasts that keep my mind going, keep my mind focused on good things, man.
Yeah, it's crazy how they work, how many rabbit holes you can go down. When you listen to a show for long enough, then you find a host or not a host, but a guest that kind of you resonate with, and then you start following them, and then you find another person that you follow them. And before you know it, it's you're on like a podcast family tree.
I think I started listening to Weird Darkness, right? And then from there, it went from Sam, it went to like the Sasquatch Club. They went to like right now I probably got like 50, 60 podcasts on my phone that I try to listen to on a basis, and it's crazy. I actually got some the niche is different. But I find myself wanting to talk about different topics. Like I got in my mind, like I want to start another podcast, but I want to start talking about, real life situations, just everything, paranormal, weird stuff, not public, but just whatever conversations. and it gets me motivated to go. And then I get emails, you know, people wanted to come on, and I got what's up about some flat Earth dude, you know, that's been outside Tripoli. Like, I'm into that, but it's not for this podcast, you know. Maybe it's for another one. So maybe that's what I'll do with the next couple months. Maybe start another podcast, get that type of stuff that I'm into, but it's not for this platform, obviously.
Yeah, the guy that you're talking about is David Weiss, and
is that him? Yeah, huh?
Yeah, it's David Weiss or David Weiss, one of the two. But he's one of the guys that's running around right now about the flat Earth and trying to push his app.
Yeah,
his app. I interviewed him. It's in the queue, the never ending queue of 50 episodes that I have that never seem like they're ever going to come out.
You ever have any that you haven't put out?
Yeah, when in my first run, I did like 19 episodes, and then I had to go back to work. And I got those out, but there was like maybe 6 or 7 that I never got to. And once you got like those ones, like none of it was relevant. I didn't feel like it was relevant to put them out. But with these, the 50 that I had, like I've been releasing from May. And the only reason I've been doing it is because in May we're in a lockdown, and we're still somewhat in a lockdown. We're in the purple in California, right? So you still can't go and sit in a restaurant. You have to eat outside. So we're kind of in the same, like everything that we were talking about in May of 2020 is still relevant today, which is crazy, right? I mean, how does that work?
I think most of my episodes came out of the pandemic. I actually caught COVID for a while. When I was caught up in the room, I probably did like 2 or 3 recordings a day, trying to stay busy, man.
Yeah, that's where I got buried. That's how I got buried, because I switched up my whole the way that I get guests, so it streamlined it a little bit more to where it's kind of automated, and like there's not a whole lot of back and forth that goes on. It's like I shoot you something, you choose, I get it, I shoot it back with a calendar invite, and it's got everything in it. And at that point in time, it was like everybody was looking for something to do, right? And I'd literally would get 8 bookings in one day. I had 2 days that I would record, and I had them all like 8 hours. And at 12 o'clock, I'd take a lunch break. And so those 2 days got booked up. Like sometimes I was doing 16 to 15 in 2 days. And that went for like 6 weeks. Until I had to shut it down and go, I can't do this. What am I going to do? Well, because it was fun. I was having fun, right? I was building that muscle, learning how to communicate, learning how to talk, learning how to listen, learning like, oh God, I didn't like the way this sounded. So let me not say those things anymore. Right. Or just sort of tuning in like what I wanted to sound like, and like learning what I don't like about how I sound. And so that really played a big part in it. And I'm glad that I did it, but now, you know, I'm sitting on a bunch of episodes that need to come out, and still doing these live streams as well.
I think I've had some, like I love my niche and I love people's stories, but like this one time I got this dude that he was telling me some crazy story, and he flat out said, you know, I'm like, this is how new I was, you know. If I was seasoned and knew how to conversate at that time, I would have brought him in more and got more dialogue. But this is what like made me build he called himself Jesus, you know, and me and that niche, and me knowing I know I should have not chewed it up, but I should have dug into it. But you know, that's the past, and that was when I was newer. But now I'm more seasoned and kind of know what I'm doing more and getting better at every day as I go.
Yeah, that's the great part about it, man. Is that it's you're learning a lot about a lot of different things, especially depending on the topics and the guests that you have on. I know that you're kind of narrowed in on a niche, but if you know, maybe when you start a new one or expand out a little bit, because I was focused on one, like Bottom's life struggles or life challenges and how my guests got through it. But what I was finding is like, man, that's a lot of hard stuff, because some of these stories are hard stories, right? You know, and talking about things, you know, somebody being raped at a certain age, or, you know, addiction and everything that goes along with that. And so to have that every episode, I was like, you got to break it up a little bit with something, with maybe variety, whatever it is, choose something a little different to break up some of these stories. And it seems to work. Well, at least it seems to be working for me.
Yeah, that's something I'm open to. Like my first guest that I had that was off topic was Jeffrey Desovic, and he was convicted of a crime and sentenced to prison for something he didn't do. And that's when I started opening my mind. These people have stories that aren't so crazy, but still need to be heard and shared. And his outcome, he beat in the system, and look now and doing good.
Yeah, he's actually a lawyer. He took his situation and turned around and used it to push himself to learn to go to law school and learn the law and learn how to protect people and help people that are in his same situation.
Yeah, I'm working on. I got a few people lined up with some pretty good. That's been on your show actually. That they message me say, I was on Sean's show. So if they're on your show, of course they're going to bring good content and they're going to bring good life to my podcast.
That's awesome, man. I was going to ask you if you want that last one I did, 106, not the last one, but 106 with the dude that just got out of Paul Kratzis. He did the 30 years. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for a conspiracy drug charge. He fought the case. He lost, took it to trial, and they gave him life without parole. And somehow he was able to figure out when Trump did the First Step Act, when he signed that into law, there was not some loopholes, but there was some language in there that allowed him to be able to qualify for compassionate release. And they took a look at it and they let him out, and he's been out since the 10th of this month. So he spent over 30 years, not almost 30 years in prison, but through the whole process, it ended up being more than 30. So yeah, he's looking to be on other shows and tell his story. So if you're interested, man, let me know and I'll shoot you his contact.
And send him my way. Anything that's positive, encouraging, man. People want to share their voices. That's why I started my podcast, to get people's stories and their voices heard.
Yep. And I think that, this is becoming a real popular medium for folks, because we can't do anything, right? You can't go out to the normal things that you would normally do, especially for like authors. How are they going to get, book signings and stuff like that when they're not having them? So this is the next medium that they're able to do, right? Because if you're not tuning into mainstream media and watching all that, then you're tuning into other alternative media sources like myself and you, or YouTube, or whatever it is that's replacing that. And you're getting a lot more value in the content that you're seeing on YouTube or some of these independent creators or content creators than you are getting on the mainstream platforms and the mainstream like CBS, NBC, all of that programming. They call it programming for a reason, folks.
And it's good. I've found myself getting a couple of authors, and it's first when I started with just people I knew, and now by word of mouth, people coming in. It's good to know that people want to come on and they want to share. And I'm glad that people like us can give them a platform for voices to be out there and just get them heard, man. Get it out there.
Yeah, exactly. And if anybody out there is, you thought about podcasting, or maybe you like, hey, this seems like something that, I've been wanting to do, or maybe you have, you want to use it as a marketing leg of your business that you have, come over to Clubhouse Wednesdays, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. My friend Maria and myself, she has a podcast called Successfully Chaotic. You know who she is. She's in the Indie Pods group. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get together there every Wednesday, and we introduce other podcasters to each other. It's basically a hangout for us to find out more about other podcasters, and also ask questions about things, monetization, tech stuff, the kind of equipment that you're using, what's working for you, branding, marketing, all that stuff we talk about, and answer questions, because we've all done it. I'm a one-man show.
Yeah, I can agree. One man show, they're not easy, but it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I had to learn all this stuff on my own and through YouTube videos, through failing forward. So yeah, if you into it, drop by. I got some invites too. If you shoot me an email and want to invite to Clubhouse, let me know. It's nowhere to go but up now at gmail.com. It's only for iPhone users right now, so it's in beta testing. But it's getting really popular. There's a lot of folks on there, a lot of different rooms that you can get into. So yeah, if you want an invite, shoot me an email and I'll invite you. Have you tried out Clubhouse yet?
I made a profile, but you need, like you said, you need an invite, right?
Yeah, you did. You haven't been invited?
No, well, I'm trying to find like I know the groups, but I got to get an invite and just do it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
shoot me your phone number, man, and I'll invite you. I think I got like 6 more left.
For sure, yeah. I downloaded it and I got it all together. So, you know, this is a good way to network. You know, good way to meet people. So why not just do it? Yeah, I'll shoot it to you.
Yeah, it's really good for networking because usually when you start talking to people, because you've got your Instagram link to it and you've got your Twitter link to it, and people will follow you, and a lot of the times they'll go and they'll hit your, you know, because basically your profile is almost like your resume of what you do, who you are, like what your jam is basically. You know, if you're a podcaster, if you're a musician, if you're an artist, if you're any of that stuff. So it's really interesting. It reminds me a lot of the old school. Remember the chat lines, the party lines you used to call on the telephone?
Oh, the P line.
Yeah. On the phone line, right? You know, it reminds me of that, but it's just way more structured. You know, you don't know who you're going to talk to or who you're going to get when you're on the phone, right? Because you can't see any profiles or anything like that. This one, you can actually see who you're talking to. You can look at them. You can go, okay, well, I want to follow them. I like what they're saying. I like hearing what they're talking about. So it's a little bit different, a little better in my opinion.
Yeah, can't wait to try it out.
Yeah, for sure. Do give me your phone number in the messenger, and I'll do that once we get off this.
Sure.
So we're at about that time right now. I've got all your social media and everything that I have in the description. I'll just go ahead and flip it out over here. If you want to follow James and the From the Dust podcast, you can follow him on Instagram. He's also on Facebook as well.
Facebook.
Yeah.
All the major streaming platforms.
Major streaming platforms. From the Dust podcast is on Spotify. And are you on iTunes or just Spotify?
Apple, Google, Spotify, Alexa, TuneIn, all the major ones. I'm pretty sure wherever you look, you can find it.
All right, cool. And you're also on YouTube as well. So if you don't want to catch the audio, you can always catch the video. I should have thrown yours up here right now, but I checked yours out today when I got your YouTube address. You're doing okay. You're doing good.
Yeah, so the build, man. But it's exciting, man, to see what's to come.
And in the book suggestions, I usually do this sometimes. The book for you was the Bible. That's been
getting to the word, you know. And not a lot of people read the Bible, but man, there's a lot of good fruit that comes out of it, man. Knowledge that I read daily, you know, and it helps me get through my day.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, man. I don't knock anybody for their beliefs and what they choose to follow, they choose to believe in. I mean, we all, you know, it's all about making your life work for you and what's best for you and your family and what works for you to be the most productive person that you can be in your life and for the people around you, right? Yeah. So, definitely. Yeah. If that works for you, man, more power to you, and I'm going to support that no matter what. So,
yeah, definitely. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. So yeah, that's it. If you got anything else that you want to plug, right now be the time to do it.
Go ahead, check me out, man. If anybody has a story or, you know, that's we want to share, man, let's get it out there. We'll get your voice heard.
Awesome. There you go, man. He's willing to have you on his show and tell your stories. Same here. You know, if you resonate with what I'm putting out and what I'm doing, hit me up either through, email, social media, wherever it is. I'm very easy to find. Just look me up on YouTube, or not YouTube, but you can look me up there, but look me up on Google, and I'm pop up the first thing, Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. And if not, then go to my Linktree. That's actually the best way to figure out where to connect with the show. All my social media is there. All of the, ways that you can support the show monetarily, Patreon, all that stuff. If you even want to book a guest spot, that's the place to find it. So yeah, with that,
how's it, man?
What's that?
I gotta start catching up to you, bro. What's 100 what episodes? I'm at 40. My goal this year is to get another 40 and just get 80 out for the year, and the book. So yeah, I got a lot going on.
Well, your episode right now, this one is 110. And like I said, I got 47, maybe 46 in the hopper. I'm not going to be doing any more live streams, I think, for the rest of the month, because I got a surgery coming up. So I'm going to start diving into those back ones and just releasing them. I'm not going to do a whole lot of editing to them. They're just kind of going to get out. I need to get them out of my hair.
I have a few that that I've saved up just in case, something happens. So I got to get those out too.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, James. I hope everybody enjoyed talking to or listening to you as much as I enjoyed talking to you and learning more about you and your story and how to find you and your podcast. So, we'll be talking more. I'm definitely going to help you out with the, the guest booking process and kind of get you in streamlined with what I'm doing and how I do mine. That way it'll make it a lot easier for you.
Definitely. Thanks.
Yep. You're welcome. And for the rest of you out there that are paying attention and watching and following along, thank you. I appreciate the support, and have a great weekend.
Sean Dustin spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. Upon release in 2006, he had nothing but the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and legal paperwork. In 2010, he kicked a long-time methamphetamine habit and started the long climb back up the ladder of life. You've been listening to the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. Sean is a single dad, a union blue-collar guy, and he spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. When he was released from prison in 2006, all he had was the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and some paperwork. Since then, he's turned his life around and shares the struggles and successes on this podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you were moved to connect to the show. Book a guest spot. For merch, Patreon, PayPal, and social media links, go to linktr.ee/nowhere to go but up. On Instagram at Nowhere to Go But Up Now. On Twitter at But Up Now. On the YouTube channel at Nowhere to Go But Up Podcast. See you next time.